So
Wax it.
today we are talking about the Society for Psychical Research, which, as far as I can tell, is much like this podcast. It's another group for nerds to get together and talk about ghosts. And the Society for Psychical Research, we'll be calling it the SPR a lot, is really defined by the series of scoundrels and scamps that have made up its membership. Elijah, you have a little prepared bit about. Well, I'm not going to really spoil it. Go ahead and tell us about your Romanian friend.
My Romanian pal. So as it would happen, everyone involved with the SPR was, like you said, a scoundrel, and this man is no exception. His name is something Culiano. It's painfully Romanian. And he happened to be an expert in Renaissance magic, which I don't know what that means. Maybe someone might, but he was executed in a bathroom stall by the communist Romanian equivalent of the KGB. And I think that is a out of all the people that we've talked about in our preparing and research, I think he takes the cake for me for the most at least the most interesting way to go. Second, maybe actually. There's one that I think we might dive into a little bit later, but that's up there.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely like how I plan to die too. I've never heard a name more Romanian than something in my
That's what they
entire life.
of course.
So
Yeah,
I wasn't even going to try to pronounce it.
The something family, weren't they like part of royalty at one point?
I think so.
They had
yeah,
a fall from grace.
Yeah, I
after
remember.
a coup d'état.
Yeah, I remember reading about the something dynasty of Romania. So another one of the really fascinating.
It's been so long since AP Euro.
Yeah. See, I never even took it. Yeah. One of the more interesting figures in the SPR, in my opinion, was Frederick Myers. And one of our main sources for this podcast is a book called Authors of the Impossible by Jeffrey J. Kripal.
Oh, I know that guy.
Yeah?
He's in the book. Yeah.
Kripal or Myers?
I remember reading his name. Myers.
Yeah, he is in the book. He's mentioned a lot. He's like one of Kripal's favorite, I'll go ahead and say thinkers from the SPR. I don't really want to call these men scientists. That feels like a disservice to science. Myers, though, was really interesting because he is perhaps the most scoundrelish of these scoundrels. Like, he is known for having slept with almost every medium that they went to investigate. Like men, women.
Hound.
Yeah, he was after it. He was there for it, and he apparently got it. And one of the most interesting things that I read about him, despite being a scamp who's about a 4.5 on the Kinsey scale, is that he was a closeted Catholic. According to like anyone close to him, he was like a devoutly religious person, but only to people very close to him. And to everybody else, he was trying to be like some cool, like enlightened atheist.
What a man! The exact kind of person you expect to be part of
atheist
this
on the
gang.
streets, Catholic in the sheets.
That's exactly what it was. Also, he invented the word telepathy.
Ooh, that's badass.
Isn't it? Yeah, I when I was reading all of this about him, I was like, oh, okay, he just kind of seems, I don't know, he doesn't seem that odd. And then I was like, oh, he invented the word telepathy. I better read more about this man. Also,
what was the
some of my best friends are telepaths.
Sorry. What is it, Cam?
Some of my best friends are telepaths.
Yeah?
Yeah, they'll go up to me and I'll be like, what do you think? What am I thinking about right now? And they'll be like, you're thinking about boobs. And I'm like, you're right, I am.
I think maybe you're just one of these scoundrels and or scamps.
Well,
There was the what was the name of that guy who his entire thing was that when they would have seances, he would insist on holding the feet of the mediums there.
Yes, yes, that was Sidgwick. He was. I honestly don't know if he was better or worse than Myers. And
They're all on the same level.
I wanted to mention this. When you research the Society for Psychical Research, this one biographer keeps coming up, and his name is Schultz. It is Bart Schultz, and he is deeply obsessed with the sex lives of these nerds for no good reason. He is just so into it. And so every article about these people, because like when you read about people in history, it's like books they wrote or contributions they made. But all of these people, I swear, I have like the full history of like their Tinder swipes and whatever. I have never seen a deeper detail of historical figures' sex lives, except for what this man has somehow like divined from the past. Also, he thinks they were all gay. Every single one of them.
I wonder how many of them opened their grinder conversations with "Hey, handsome."
Man, I mean, if it's anything like today, I'm gonna go with at least a third.
That
Well, of
sounds
course,
about
yeah.
right.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. So Myers seems to have been like one of the more polarizing figures when the SPR started. Sidgwick seems to be the more polarizing one towards the end, and eventually the SPR split into two groups, and all of the more religious people left. And there was some term that was kept for it. It was called like the Sidgwick group, and it was the people who just really were there to like dunk on mystics. That was like their whole purpose. What this group really was, other than being a reason for nerds to come together and talk about ghosts, was a reason for nerds to travel around the world and dunk on supposed mediums like Michael Jordan with moon shoes on. uh like there were a couple other like yeah, I don't want to call these people scientists. There were a couple other involved figures in this group, and a group of them were sent to India to debunk Madame Blavatsky. Cam, you probably know about her. Elijah, do you?
Oh yeah, we go way back.
It when we were doing the reading for this, it is actually impressive how little I retained. Seeing as I read it, and then immediately had to go to Washington D.C. for 2 weeks, and then got COVID.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, yeah, you got COVID from defending democracy.
Happy to help.
Excellent.
You get what you fucking
Totally
deserve.
worth it.
So, Madame Helena Blavatsky is a very formal name for a woman who was just a kooky medium who ended up inspiring the Nazi Party. Her weird, wacky occult beliefs ended up being the basis of Adolf Hitler thinking that whites were superior. And I'm sure he would have found some other reason somewhere else, but he could very directly cite Blavatsky's writings to try to back up his white supremacy with some semblance of something, you know.
And she was involved with the SPR. Or
No, she got
okay.
absolutely wrecked by the SPR. The SPR, as it
Of
turns out, was
course,
kind of based.
heroes.
Yeah, Madame Blavatsky had this kind of like shrine in India where like letters were supposed to materialize. I couldn't find any details about what they said, but apparently this place would just like generate letters. She probably just had like the first like Xerox in the background or something. But what happened was they sent a couple investigators, specifically Richard Hodgson, and he investigated it. He found that it was false. I guess it was a drawer that would pull out to both sides. And as he was walking away, in the background, the building burst into flames as if it was like an action movie. Like all I want to see is the shot of him walking away, and then the building just explodes in the background like it's Jason Bourne. I love that that's the only reaction out of both of you. It's just a quiet. Damn.
um,
Dad,
I think there was one, and I don't know what direction you had planned, but I remember that there was this really cool concept. I think it was towards the end of the first chapter of Authors of the Impossible. And I think it was something that the SPR had like talked about, or it was something that they, I don't know, one of their thinkers, as you would call them. He talked about like, I don't remember what it was because it was, it was a while ago and I read it, but like he talked about like all the like psychical stuff, which that was a word I think you said you have issues with or something, but like
Yeah.
how it was like a spectrum basically. And I don't know if that like rings any bells for you, but I
I
cannot
actually have a note
remember. I
about
only
that.
like because I think that was one of the like few interesting things that they had like come up with or like documented or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. So I have a really big issue with how that was written in the book. I actually wasn't going to bring it up because it was written so confusingly that I don't know what it's talking about. Uh, and Krypal manages to talk about this for almost 2 full paragraphs. He says nothing meaningful. There is absolutely no meaning I can pull out of those far too long paragraphs. And all that he ends up doing is kind of like surmising that the words spectrum and specter have a similar historical root, which they do. And that's it. That's all he did in 2 paragraphs of talking about it. Like, as much as I love Krypal and I like some of his writing, I genuinely cannot stand how dense his writing. Actually, Cam, you're an English major. How do you feel about his writing?
it's poop. It's like on one hand, it's far too academic and Henry Jamesian, and on the other, he's trying to balance it with being colloquial, and it just doesn't work.
Yeah, this
It
feels
just
like the
comes off as
really
hackneyed and off kilter.
Yeah, I feel like this is some nerd with no social skills trying to sound smart and cool, you know.
Yeah.
Well, you
exactly.
have you explained your Bismarcky level beef with Carpal?
No, I absolutely have not. So in 2019 at my college campus in Florida, I saw flyers around that was just like a picture of like a flying saucer UFO. It reminded me of like the I Wanna Believe poster from the X-Files. And all that it said was what was it? It was like biological gods. Like UFOs. Yeah, here, I found it. Biological gods, UFOs, sci-fi, and emergent mythologies. And all that it had on it, other than that, was like a date, a time, and a place. And I was just like, cool, I'll be there. And I ended up devising a scheme, a very like Ed, Ed, and Eddie plot in my mind. It was so intricate that I was going to put on my work uniform because I worked for my college, and I was going to go to this event. And after everybody left, I was going to take the food that was there because these events always have really good food, and I didn't want to buy food because food costs money. And what ended up happening was I went and I very quickly realized that not only did my uniform not match the people that worked in that building, but one of my coworkers happened to also work in that building and also work that event. And she immediately recognized me. And it's like, man, I hope she never listens to this, but I was not pleased with you, Jade. Like
Wow.
she could have like not blown my cover for long enough because I was literally stuffing my pockets with like grapes, cheese, and crackers. And the whole time what I ended up having to do was just stare Jeffrey J. Krypal in the eyes as if to establish dominance. And it worked. It worked. I got out there with that food.
Shocker.
I mean, I wouldn't have, had I been in his shoes, I would in locked eyes with a cryptid. I wouldn't have said anything either.
Yeah, but just imagine if he football tackled you. Like, you can't touch that food.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he would have won the fight, but it definitely would have been fascinating to see in a newspaper.
Yeah.
If nothing else.
That is true. You know what keeps coming to mind when I think about the SPR? You guys know, like, the community of people on YouTube who do, like, react videos where they just, like, dunk on, like, just anyone who's stupid. It's usually, like, political stuff.
Of course.
That's what these people were, but, like, a century before YouTube. Like, there was this quote in the book by Krypal, and it said, in any case, Hodgson would become famous among his colleagues for such unflinching and exhaustive demolishings. Can you imagine writing that about somebody?
Man, wrecked with facts and logic.
Yeah, I know. We had a real, like, 1800s Ben Shapiro here. And I'm shocked that Krypal has the balls to publish a book written in this way, and not to be like, hey, random person, can you stop stealing the grapes? So, Cam, how about you tell us about your personal experiences with the paranormal?
Yeah. So I am from a very old house, right? And it was like built in the Civil War, passed down through a few different people. There's a spinster, what done owned it, then a junkyard owner. Anyway, we've seen some weird shit in that house. I think one of the weirdest things that happened to me was looking down the corridor of the hallway and into the kitchen. I saw this shadow person go across the room, like very distinctly. I was about 10 years old. So, and
That
there
is,
was
like,
no
not
mistaking
great.
it for anything else but like a dark shadow that moved across the kitchen. That aside, there's always been this sort of very, I know this is a very meaningless word that's tossed around a lot, but there is an energy within that house that feels very benevolent. So, besides that, it's been good vibes.
That's good.
Besides the potential demon, the vibes are good.
Right, yeah. It's a good demon, whatever. That being said, the house right next to mine, which is now owned by an accountant, is a pretty nice house, but before the accountant bought it,
Thanks. I love all these relevant details.
it was owned by a meth head who died in that house.
Ooh.
And
That's a fun
according
ghost.
to the accountant's wife and daughter, they have both seen that man in their dreams.
Is he just doing meth in their dreams?
Yes.
Man, could you imagine getting haunted by a junkie and they're just like, man, you got $20 I could borrow? Like, that would be horrible. That'd be like the most that would be like having Kurt Cobain haunt you. Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
Jesus.
I was going to say
Christ.
Mark Lanigan, but that's good too.
Yeah, both of them. Anybody from Seattle in the 90s, I assume, had a substance abuse issue, and I also assume would be constantly asking me if I had Cheetos or money.
Well, what else do you need?
Honestly,
Man, you
that's
got $40.
true. Yeah. Elijah, what about you? What are your experiences with the paranormal?
Oh boy. So I believe. So I live in an apartment right now, and I think this, to my memory, is the first like place I've lived in that hasn't been haunted.
Not yet.
That like I can actively think. Yeah, not yet. No. just wait till I get a hold of that. but no. So like, and I've moved around.
Yeah.
Many times. So like it's been at least like 4 different houses I can think of off the top of my head that have like actively had stuff in it. I know my mom, and I'm not gonna tell this whole story because it's definitely long, but like there was this little girl that used to like basically live in the attic, of like the house that I was like my childhood house, basically like when I was like 10 and younger. And I definitely saw her in the attic because we could like.
Wait, I have to ask, was she dead or was she just like chumming up there?
Oh no, she was dead. Don't you worry. It was Definitely a ghost,
You
not
said
a
that in
living.
the way, was she like a zombie? The way you said, "Don't you worry."
No. She was there. There was this ghost, but people like my mom has a bunch of things with her that I'm not gonna tell because that'd take too long. But I definitely have a distinct memory of playing in the backyard with a bunch of my friends, and all of us at the same time, for some reason, looking up into like the attic, like third story window, and like seeing this person just standing there. And that fucked us up. That was pretty brutal. But there were all the other people that saw like this girl like crawling, following my mom around outside, like walking
Crawling?
into the house and shit.
What?
Yeah.
This is the
So
first time
it
I've
was
heard about
fucked
this.
up. Yeah, it was
Supposed to
fucked
go
up. There
for
was
the
it was this girl that used to like follow my mom around basically. Like our neighbor would see like this girl like literally follow my mom inside. And I remember my mom told me that at one point she was just like, "Hey, you can you don't have to stay here. You can go." And we never fucking saw her again. That was it. And then we moved.
You know what would have been frightening? Is if your mother happened to be like, "Oh, I'm gonna go for a run. It's a nice day," and as she's running down the street, everybody except her just sees a young girl crawl running behind her.
Yeah, that would have been bad. But it was weird because the only other person who like actually saw the ghost, like other than like what I remember seeing, which we were young and we were all easily spooked.
Yeah.
But it was a neighbor with like the same name as my mom was the only other person that we know that actually saw that specific ghost.
Wait, same
but
first,
that was
last, or both?
same first, just same first
Okay.
name. So I don't know what significance that has, but but that was actually also the house that I am fairly certain that I saw a demon in, and still affects the way that I sleep at 21. So I can talk about that real quick
Okay.
if you would like.
Yes.
I may have mentioned this to you personally before. I definitely haven't told Cam this. So I was, I think, four or five.
Okay.
And I lived a relatively sheltered child, like young life, I would say.
Yeah.
We didn't have very many like TV channels or anything, and so I didn't have a lot of experience with like media to see anything like creepy. Um, and so I was like, like I said, 4 or 5, and I was, a young boy, so I sleep in my mom's bed because I get spooked. And I was like wide awake, not even like sort of like, it wasn't even like the middle of the night or something. Like I was big chilling. And I remember I
Big
turn
chillin'.
over and like, I look at I just look at the side of the wall, and like in the corner there's this like very tall figure, like almost touching the ceiling. And I remember it has this like cloak on, and what I can mostly compare to now is like a plague doctor beak,
This
but it
just
wasn't
sounds
like
like
a mask.
Cam at a Ren fair.
It would have been, but I don't think Cam was tall enough yet, or had the physical means to get into my mom's apartment or my mom's house.
Maybe.
Am I surprised? You?
And I remember just looking at it, and like it like locked eyes with me, and then like slowly picked up its hand and like waved, and then I naturally lost my shit, and I never saw it again, and I still sleep with a pillow over my head, so I can't see him again.
It sounds like you're just asphyxiating yourself. See, I don't know why you assume that this is a demon. This is something bad. He might just be like some cool goth guy from down the block, just chumming.
No, bad vibes.
Bad vibes.
Bad vibes. Oh yeah,
Alright.
not great.
So
And according to some people, our high school was haunted as shit.
Oh yeah, no doubt. Bath is, and I think I think we should save talking about Bath for something later, because that's got some.
yeah. For
There's some
people,
stuff.
Yeah.
yeah, for people listening, we're from the coast of Maine. We're from a city that's called Bath, and all it does is like build ships, pretty much. But if you could measure a ghost population, we would probably be in the tens of thousands, because it has been around for a long time, and it has had like most of the Northeast, a very like brutal colonial history. So, I'm I don't really have much of a past with the paranormal to talk about for myself. I don't really have much in the way of like paranormal experiences or anything. But I realized that I forgot to talk about the true hero of the SPR, and that is
Oh.
Edmund Gurney. Do you guys remember anything about Edmund Gurney in the book?
Was he the there's two prominent figures that come to mind for me. There is the chloroform guy, and then there's the guy that was it his cousin's wife that he wanted to fuck?
So the cousin's wife guy, that was Myers, and he ended up leading to her suicide.
Of
She
course he
drowned
did, this
herself
scoundrel.
to death over this. But yeah, this was the letter writing guy. So, okay, I think that Edmund Gurney was just a vestigial figure in the SPR because he really wanted to be there. He was there like from the get-go, and everybody was kind of just like, all right, man, yeah, I guess you can come along. And what they ended up doing was they just had him write letters. 50 to 60 letters a day. This man hand wrote and mailed. And I don't know what these letters were or what they were about. I doubt he had a lot to say. But what he did was that they called him the Honorable Secretary, and he wrote letters all day and apparently had a bit of a drug habit with chloroform.
As one would.
Yeah, this book sums his life up in a paragraph, and they're like, yeah, he wrote letters, and then he overdosed on chloroform. Guys, like, man, a lot of people have done a lot of wacky drugs in history. This man died at the age of 41. Have you guys ever heard of chloroform being used as just like a recreational drug?
I didn't know people did. That was when you told me about that. That was the first I'd heard.
That sounds like something I'd do.
Yeah, Cam, you're really a party animal. Did you know that? So when I was investigating this for the podcast, I decided to take this to an infamous forum that is populated by air quote drug enthusiasts. It is entirely composed of junkies and degenerates. And I know that there are a lot of people on there who know a lot about drugs, especially the ones you shouldn't be doing. And what I did was I put that site in the search operator and just Googled the word chloroform. And there are a lot of threads talking about it, but one specifically that was fascinating to me. There was this man who was like, I just got diagnosed with schizophrenia. He was like, I'm not doing great, and I'm trying to self-medicate. And then he's like, I have access to a ton of chloroform. Can I use that as a drug to medicate my schizophrenia? And everybody's like, you absolutely can't. And he's just like, I don't want to hear it. Like, he was only there looking for a yes. And the best comment on that thread was a man who's like, yeah, I used to huff chloroform. It eventually ate away at my skin and lungs, and I was just seeing spiders everywhere. That's it. That's like the best chloroform story I've found. Because apparently
What a life to live.
Yeah, well, like, so chemically, chloroform is brutal. What it's called a defattener, and it is not a good weight loss solution. What it does is, like, on a molecular level, any lipids it encounters, any, like, fat-based chemical compounds, it just dissolves. And I started poking around for, like, statistics about, like, how much, like, of our body is made of fats. And I consulted a friend of ours who was studying biochemistry, and he said that about 10% of every cell in your body is made up of fats.
So what
And-
you're saying
Jesus.
is, I can lose weight by doing this.
I think that if your heart desires it, then maybe it's just natural selection.
Say no more.
I think you could do it.
Yeah, like Gurney
believe
did
in you.
not die of chloroform overdose. He died of natural selection doing its job.
At least we know it works.
Yes, yeah, like at
And
least we can
God
have
bless
some
him.
faith. Honestly, yeah, he seems... you know what? He did his job. He wrote a lot of letters. And he died a hero's death.
What else could
He
we ask
died
for?
with a good-looking corpse.
See, I don't even know if he did that. I can't find pictures of this man. It's getting off topic. Did you know that Queen Victoria used to huff so much chloroform she had a special pneumatic inhaler fashioned for her to do it more effectively?
That's hot.
Man, it's something. I definitely don't know how I feel about it, but the idea of a queen being like, man, you know what would help me do my job? Demyelinating my entire nervous system with this inhalant. Like, that just tells me what England's been about for at least a couple hundred years.
I mean, they're nothing if not consistent.
That
You
is
love
true.
to see it.
Yeah, I love to see a monarchy melting itself. Man, speaking of melting yourself and wild drug addiction, one of the investigators in the SPR was the opposite. Something Carrington. I actually didn't write down his first name. Hereward Carrington is his name. And he was, a pretty good, scientist, ostensibly, in this group. He did a lot of good investigations. But he was a little bit of a weirdo. Like, how do you guys feel about vegans?
Hey, fuck vegans. All right,
Alright, Cam, how about you?
all of them.
I got family who are vegans, so that's
Okay, how do you guys feel about fruitarians?
they're I feel like they're bastions of morality and so on and so forth.
How do you
and
guys
what were you
feel
saying?
about fruitarians?
Is that I'm gonna use context clues, and is that people that just eat fruit?
Yes.
Cowards.
They sound pretty fruity.
Thanks, Cam. Thanks. We already were making a garbage podcast, and you somehow made it worse.
I didn't think it was possible. I thought this was
Wait.
the bottom of the barrel.
It's fine. We fell
Man,
right through the bottom.
I
We're on
bet
the ground.
I bet they were plumb full of good ideas.
Alright, I was gonna go on talking about how Carrington being a fruitarian was like the most acceptable part of the SPR, but I just can't even talk about this anymore.
Yeah.
Let's talk about...
This guy was bananas.
Oh my god. Okay.
Kick him from the chat.
Yeah, banned. Sudden topic change. Let's talk about
Thank you.
one of these mediums who they debunked really, really hard. Her name was Eusapia Palladino, and she was this Italian medium who like, her big thing was that she could make tables levitate. And it turns out that all she did was just bump them with her knees. There wasn't really a big standard for, like, being a medium back then.
Eusapia Palladino
Yeah.
is not a name.
Is it not a name?
It is not a name.
What? What do you mean?
That is not a name that a person would ever have. Or should ever have.
I don't really want to dehumanize her, but yeah, she's like less of a human than the ShamWow guy. Like, all that she did was con people. But she was also as much of a
scoundrel
and or scamp as the rest of the SPR guys, because
You have to be.
Kripal goes very far out of his way to mention that every time that she would do like a seance, that she would awake, as Kripal put it, hot, sweaty, and well aroused. And I guess she would try to climb from her seat into the laps of men sitting around the table. And
Scoundrel.
I know, to investigate this seemingly extraordinarily serious and profound medium, the B team got sent by the SPR. They sent essentially their worst investigators, Fielding, Bagley, and Carrington, to check this lady out. And they thought she was the real deal. They came back saying she could like make tables levitate and like was channeling ghosts and shit. Like they claimed that she was actually a real medium. And that did not go down well at the SPR.
Hello?
Nope.
Oh, there he is. The old Wisconsin internet.
Yep. We are in the state of
In the
Maine
background.
and doing this remotely due to COVID.
Yes.
I would
Okay.
be here anyway.
I'm gonna straight up, I'm gonna fucking scrap this recording so far.
This isn't going remotely well.
The whole thing? You got rid of the whole thing?
No, I'm just gonna start right there. Yeah, this isn't going remotely well. So, Eusapia Palladino was not just a scoundrel who would try to climb into the laps of the people investigating her. Another one of the people that was there investigating, Fielding, he would marry a mystic that he debunked. I know this is another side tangent on top of the tangents that we're talking about. But yeah, he, what was this woman's name? I took it out of the notes because it's so useless. But yeah, he debunked this lady who claimed to make things levitate when she actually just tied a string to her middle finger and then tied it to a piece of paper and then claimed she was making the paper levitate. And he married this woman. Like, can you believe that? Like, she's just the worst magician.
God bless.
I know. God help us. This man married the worst magician in the entirety of Poland.
Imagine unironically being Polish. Can you fucking imagine?
Oof. Cancelled.
Yeah.
Yeah?
I was gonna say, for the record, I have no problem with the Polish people. That's it. That was it.
All right. So, oh God, I can't stop thinking about Fielding now. Yeah, he married that magician. You know, he was a spy. He was like a badass, like a British spy that was like deployed to the Middle East. He was like homeboys with Aleister Crowley. And then he married some like absolute clown. I guess honestly though, all of them, Eusapia included, they all just fit in. This whole story, the whole story of the SPR is a bunch of nerds dunking on a bunch of clowns, but it ended up going both ways so intensely that the SPR to this day is essentially just a clown troupe with a fancy name. And
yeah, what are they? What are some of the most recent SPR accomplishments?
begging for members.
Of course. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
I mean, we can join.
Yeah,
We got nothing better to do.
Yeah, we could join, technically.
Yeah, this audio recording is our audition tape.
Hey, SPR.
Please let us in.
Yeah.
We know so much about you and your history, and we know that you're desperate for members.
Yeah, they're a
So
lot
please
like,
consider us.
I don't even think that they charge for membership. I think you can just like write them a letter and be like, "Hey, can I like join your ghost people club?" And they'll be like, "Yes." Like I
They're
couldn't
not
find
even Mensa level.
Yeah, it's wow, they refer to themselves as a highly respected journal, in case you were wondering.
That's all right.
Oh,
A
those
robust
clowns.
you get a robust awards program and periodic mailing.
Oh,
Yo,
What?
reduced registration fees for the SPR annual meeting.
Well, so you can join and then pay. You have to pay to go to the meetings.
Well, yeah, of course. How else are they going to make their money?
This sounds like a multi-level marketing scheme.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean the website gives me big Scientology vibes.
Ooh, excellent.
yeah. I was just gonna say.
Do you guys want to talk about another one of the mediums that they honestly didn't destroy this person as hard as they did the other people? but he's really interesting.
Oh yeah.
Okay, this man's name is Daniel Dunglass Home, and he was a somewhat twinkish, effeminate gay man from Scotland in the 1800s. And all of that made him to people, because he was rich, is, quote unquote, eccentric. That's what they kept calling him. All these accounts, they just keep calling him, a little bit odd, a little bit off. And what they mean pretty much is just that he was gay and shy. And
well, eccentric is just pre 1900s gay.
yes, yeah,
isn't
that's
it? Basically,
that's all that it meant. And Kripal did not talk a lot about this man. He mentioned that he could supposedly levitate 35 feet from a second-story window to the ground, which is like a big flex to just gloss over. And they also
I'd be proud of that.
Be proud of that.
If I could just levitate 35 feet.
Elijah, if I could levitate 35 feet, I would be in the air doing like a backflip motion until I died. Like,
well, what else would you do if that was the,
It's the only rational thing. And another really interesting thing about this is, apparently an anthropologist had a more rational solution to the idea that he could levitate. This anthropologist instead suggested that Daniel Home was a werewolf who also had the powers of mind control.
That was his rational explanation for it.
This was a more accepted rationalization than his levitation.
Okay,
And
yeah. That makes sense to me.
yeah,
I'm sold.
Local newspapers report about the ropes tied to his back as he, levitated in and out of this window. Really, I think he just had a bunch of, like, urchin children pulling a pulley. But,
Free workers, am I right?
Yep, gotta love capitalism. What Daniel Home was really good at, though, like, almost like, impeccably good at, was predicting when people would die. Like, his sister died at the age of 12 by drowning in a stream.
Oh, shit.
And I can only imagine she was like 6 inches tall to drown in a stream. Like, I could not try and drown in a stream. Could you?
I think, no, there's no chance.
Man.
I mean, it'd have to be with the chloroform guy, right? Where you just fall into it.
Yeah. You know what the SBR is also a story of? Miraculously bizarre death.
It's actually impressive because I think there's, I mean, you have the Romanian KGB executing a man in a stall. Then you have a guy accidentally killing himself with chloroform. So
and then you have this girl
what other ways are there to go?
Yeah, then this girl drowned in a stream.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
In a stream.
Imagine an oracle saying that you're gonna die at sea, then you die in a stream.
Speaking of that, Daniel Holmes' brother did die at sea on a boat going to Greenland to probably do something very colonial and bad, I'm guessing. Just based on the fact that he was
for the
British.
best.
Yeah.
Just based on the, hey, we don't fuck with Anglos in here.
Yeah. This is an Anglo-free zone. Honestly, if it's the 1800s, though, and you're from England, and you're on a boat to somewhere where the native people are not white, you're there to do something bad.
What else were they doing?
Looking for spices.
Yeah, spices, slaves, and tea, it seems.
The Holy Trinity.
Yeah. And so
these are a few of my favorite things.
The SPR would debunk Daniel Home, and it was the least notable debunking ever. Keep in mind, this is the group that debunked Helena Blavatsky, the root of the Nazi occult beliefs, so thoroughly that her house burst into flames. And they debunked Daniel Home, and he's just like, all right. And then Harry Houdini debunked Daniel Home. And
it was the next natural step, of course.
Honestly, like, man, could you imagine Harry Houdini, of all people, just being like, you're a hack and a fraud? and not eating a bullet immediately.
That would do it for me. That would push me across that line real quick.
Yeah. Like the SPR, like they're just a bunch of like sweaty, oddly horny nerds. Harry Houdini was like a very seriously respected skeptic, in addition to being a magician. And I also took note of somebody else who apparently ran like a long-term investigation and like debunking of Daniel Home. And I only wrote down this man's name and not what he did, just because his name is so interesting. His name is Count Mikhail Mikhailovich Perovsky Petrovo Solovovo.
See, that's a name.
And
got a point.
Eusapia Palladino is not.
No,
What about Daniel
that is a bad
Dunglass
Scrabble
Home?
hand.
That is a bad Scrabble hand? Oh man, I hope Italian nor British people ever listen to this, Cam.
Hey, talk shit. Talk
Me
shit.
too. They're not allowed on this podcast.
All right. We are not going to be let on Spotify.
Yeah.
All right. That's fine. So
'Cause
yeah,
it's run by a bunch of filthy Italians.
yeah, greasy.
Cam, we're gonna have personal beef in a minute. All right.
Yeah. We're gonna have a fucking meatball here, right?
I
Eh.
think there's
It's gonna
one
be
on the
one
call.
part veal, one part pork, one part.
You forgetting meats?
Yeah.
Beef is one.
You know, ever since becoming beef, that's one of them.
So also with Daniel Home, he did everything. And this is why he could get debunked so many times by so many people. Because the SPR debunked his levitation. He also did the tie a string to his finger thing. And the SPR came and they're like, there's a string tied to your finger. And he's like, no, there's not. And there was. And then after that happened, he started, he could make like voices appear in the room. And he claimed that they were ghost voices. And what it was is, he's just a really good ventriloquist. That's it. That's it.
That was his bit. That was
Yeah.
his entire thing.
Yeah. The Mikhail Mikhailovich, Perovsky Petrova Solovovo. The way that he debunked him was he was just like, Daniel, you're moving your mouth. We can see you. And he's like, no, you can't. That was like the extent of it. Like I would love to say that these investigations were like large scale or scientific, because especially like Mikhail Mikhailovich, he spent a long time on this guy, like many months, just to be like, you're just throwing your voice.
Did no one like catch on? No one saw his mouth moving.
I mean, like, the locals around this man genuinely believe that he levitated in and out of a room when he had a rope tied to his back going into
So
the
they were
room.
just stupid. They were just dumb.
Yeah, I don't really think that, like, common townsfolk
Is
in
what
the
you're-
1800s used their brain a whole lot.
I mean, maybe they
Yeah, I'm
just
not.
wanted
Yeah.
that he could levitate.
Yeah, I mean, I think they were trying to survive, like, tuberculosis and famine and the sorts.
I mean,
They had bigger fish to fry at that point in time.
you have to have something to look up to,
I mean, like,
so to speak.
yeah, like, literally or figuratively? Can you guys
Yes.
imagine, like, I want you guys to try to visualize this very emaciated Scottish man just getting pulled into a second-story window by a rope tied around him. Like, how long did it take?
I would believe
I
it.
often do.
You often?
I mean, he was probably ready to go. I'm sure he's done that more
Yes.
than. He seems like a prepared guy. He probably had the timing down.
He probably had the timing down. How quickly do you think that his little gang of urchin children could have pulled him up that window? Like, at the quickest.
At the quickest, I mean, I'm assuming that he's probably got at least 5 or 6 kids, right? And
Sure.
you said you described him as twinkish.
Yeah.
So I imagine
he was-
he's probably pretty light.
Yeah, well,
So
he was noted as being very emaciated. He had tuberculosis almost all of his life, and something really funny about him is that he claimed that he was on a quest to prove the existence of immortality. Then he died at 53 years old.
I mean, that was pretty good for the
Wow.
time, wasn't it? I mean, I appreciate the.
No, it absolutely
Oh,
wasn't.
I mean, for a man with tuberculosis, kinda.
Yeah,
yeah. I
I
mean,
mean
that's impressive for him. Yeah.
for being tubercular, yeah, like it's not that bad.
Yeah.
People always think that the lifespan was really low back then, but it's just because the infant mortality rate was really high. People still lived well into their 60s,
Right. Kind of
70s, 80s.
brings down the averages a little bit.
Yes, yeah. The when your society when you don't even name babies until they like go to school, yeah, this it definitely brings down the average. So there's something else that I wanted to talk about that because originally this whole idea I had a structure and a plot for this and we threw all that out the window. But I I really wanted to talk about how biographers write about these people because there have only been as far as I could find two serious biographies of the SPR. And one is this one chapter of this one book that we all read by Jeffrey Kripal in which he I don't know, like how would you guys say he frames the SPR? Like in what light does he put them?
I think he makes them. He seems like he tries to make them sound like it's not just a bunch of grumpy old British people. Just like it's like
Not like it's
like
a
they're not
bunch
a
of
bunch of
hooey.
scoundrels.
Yeah, he
When
does.
when in fact they are.
Yes, yeah, I can definitely agree. He makes them sound more legitimate than they are. And that's so fascinating to me because the other biographer, Bart Schultz, he focuses on nothing but the scoundrelry.
Well, that's all there really was. I mean, they had a couple. Every once in a while, they'd have a cool. I don't even know if it was them or if it was just the way that he was writing it. There were a couple cool concepts every once in a while, but really, it was just whatever fuck shit they were doing.
Yeah, that's such a perfect word for it. Whatever fuck shit they were doing. Like, I don't know. I guess it's a noble cause to try to, further science. But these people stepped so far out of line that they couldn't really achieve anything with it. And I guess, like, do you guys have anything that you want to talk about with this to wrap it up? We've already talked about the man who thought that only eating fruit was going to make him live forever. Which is
I mean, we talked about the again the man that was executed in the
He was out
stall.
of his gourd.
That was important to me.
out of his gourd. Cam, I can't deal with this. Are you over there huffing chloroform?
You know, maybe we should talk about this off the air. But it's just,
Okay, yeah, I will find a hotline for you. And in the meantime, anyone listening to this, what you should do is you should check out this college that is kind of tangentially related to the SPR. One of the spin-off groups that we decided not to talk about because it's so painfully British and boring is the oh my god.
You got this.
At just the wrong time, Google Docs froze up on me. I can't read my notes. It was the College of Psychic Studies. And they're, I don't want to say an accredited college, but they teach people things. And they do it pretty cheap, and
That's
it
good.
looks like they do it online now. And this is really all that's left of all of those little organizations like the SPR. And they teach courses on, like, numerology and chakras, and they have one that's about angels. And they don't teach about tarot cards, they teach about the white person version. Tarot cards are from Egypt. They teach about Lenormand cards, which is like a whitewashed version of it. Like, like guys, what do you think a psychic college should teach?
You know, I'm gonna say probably Spookums.
That's true.
seance. like group seance sessions. That'd be cool.
Oh man, that Windows noise is going to be in the recording. That is not pleasant. Yeah, I just did a Control F on their website. There is no instance of the word seance. But
Perfect. Yep. Great advertising.
yeah,
Even with like the little accent mark thing on the A.
I didn't check and I don't plan to. Their courses are dirt cheap. They're between 130 and 160 pounds each. And
Oh shit.
yeah, I'm half tempted
Each?
to take one. Yeah. I want to see how kooky they really are. And I want to encourage any poor fool who ends up listening through this to do the same. If you have the inclination to learn more about this, go take a class and get in touch with us somehow and let us know how it went.
Yeah, that'd be a real power move. Anyone that
Yeah.
managed to actually do that.
Honestly,
You have to be down real bad.
I wish they offered a degree, because imagine putting that on a resume. Like, imagine
I
like,
would
majoring in
have already
numerology.
been there.
Yo, you'd already be there.
Yeah, that's gonna be me.
It's going to be
just
you.
you wait.
Okay. I'm excited to see how that goes. Also, they have a men's circle, apparently. They don't have any details about it. It's just like a safe space for men, which I support. But my issue is that there's no time or place or anything given. They just say that it exists.
I mean, if you want it that bad, you'll find it.
Yeah.
No doubt.
I hope it's a literal circle jerk.
I mean, what other kind of support is there?
That's true.
Yeah, I think that's the perfect note.
No kind of support I'd want.
Yeah.
I think that's the perfect note to end this on.
Okay.
So,
Yes,
we don't have
hence
any social media
ectoplasm.
plug because we don't have the foresight to have made that beforehand.
No, so that'll have to come 2 weeks from now at some point, maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Follow our Twitter at Real Donald Trump.
That's true. That
Listen,
is a
I'll
ghost.
I'll make a Twitter. I'll make a Twitter. I got it.
Thank you for listening to episode 0 of the Spookums podcast. We're still getting the hang of it, so thanks for sticking around, and you can find our social media on Instagram, Twitter, SoundCloud, and YouTube at Spookums Podcast. And if you have any spooky stories that you would like us to read, you can email them to us at spookumspodcast@gmail.com.